Now, one debate rap fans have and will always have is who is the greatest rapper of all time. Now, this debate is purely based on opinion, so we'll never have one definitive answer. But one aspect that people regularly point to when having this debate is the number of streams a particular artist has. It's one argument I see Drake fans using a lot when they argue that he is the greatest of all time. Now, of course, streams don't necessarily equal quality. If that was the case, French Montana would be seen as better than Stevie Wonder, as French Montana has more streams than him. However, streams do give a good outline of an artist's popularity and how wide of an audience they can gather on their projects. So I decided to look at some of the most streamed rappers, and one who caught my eye was actually Big Sean. Now, the part that caught my eye wasn't how many streams he has. Big Sean has been a huge name in the rap world for over a decade, so it's understandable that he has this many streams. In 2015, people really began to take Big Sean seriously with the release of his album Dark Sky Paradise. This album features some of Big Sean's biggest and best songs, including the incredibly well-known I Don't Fuck With You. I'm sure everyone has heard that song at least once in their life. He followed this up with the moodier yet beautiful I Decided, and then with a Metro Boomin collab album. Now, these albums, as well as some top singles and features, cemented Big Sean as a big player in the rap game. He continued to drop bangers after bangers, and this all led up to his 2020 album Detroit 2. Now, this album performed pretty well, getting over 100,000 first week sales. It also gave Big Sean his 7th largest song of all time with Wolves with Post Malone. Now, all of this context would make you assume that his next album after Detroit 2 would be equally as good, if not better. Big Sean could clearly cultivate a large audience, and in my opinion, the quality of his albums was only improving as time went on. However, his next album flopped hard, as in 2024 he released Better Me Than You. It only got 23,000 sales in its first week, a 75% decrease from his last album. And some of the songs still just sit on a few million streams a year after its initial release. And in my opinion, this is honestly frustrating, as Better Me Than You is one of Big Sean's best albums. It features a more mature Big Sean speaking on topics such as fatherhood and self-growth. So today I want to talk about why I believe this is Big Sean's best album, and ultimately why it didn't perform to the level it should have. So first, I want to talk about why I believe Better Me Than You is one of, if not the best album of Big Sean's discography. In my personal opinion, albums which hold deep emotional weight bring out the best of an artist. A key example of this for me is Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, which I believe to be Kendrick's best album. And for me, it's the same with Better Me Than You. As I said, the album features Big Sean speaking on much more mature themes than he's spoken on before. A key example can be seen on the song On Up. The song features Big Sean talking to his son, wishing him the best for his future and trying to encourage him through the tough times. He says lyrics such as, "I look into my son's eyes and still see his innocence. I see my inner child in him and still the remnants." His son is essentially his legacy, not the albums or the music. It all comes down to his son. His son comes first over his job and all his work. This lyric also gives an essence of a calm before the storm. While his son is still innocent right now, he knows life will remove this in the future. But he's not worried about this. Instead, he understands that this is inevitable and you can actually learn from this innocence being taken away from you. He also says the lyrics, "I'm only making plays to pass it on. One day my baby gonna have babies and I'm gonna be gone." Big Sean acknowledges the theme of inevitability again, and he's again not upset about it. This time he speaks on the inevitability of death. He knows he can't be around forever, but he knows his lessons can be. If he teaches his son the right things, these lessons can be passed down from generation to generation. And that's the most important thing for Big Sean. Not building the best life just for him with material things, but instead building the best lives for his future family with wisdom and knowledge. Another vitally important song on the album is Boundaries. The song features Big Sean talking about the importance of setting clear boundaries in order to take care of himself. The chorus starts with him saying, "I gotta start setting boundaries because everybody wants a part of me. now I'm a piece of me. Big Sean is recognizing here that since he's become famous, people have started to leech off him. He knows that this has begun to break him down emotionally, and the best way for him to regrow and develop is to remove these people from his life. He needs to stop trying to please everybody and put himself first at times. As he moves on to the first verse, he says, I could tell you I'm doing well, but it's drying out. I gotta pour back into the things that make me smile. The first line here highlights why I enjoy this album so much. We see Big Sean giving us a peek behind the curtain of his life. We're seeing a more real and authentic version of himself compared to what he's previously shown us on previous albums. This has seemed to be the trend with a lot of artists lately. From Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers to Chromacopia by Tyler the Creator, we're seeing more and more artists create deeper and more layered albums. I believe the reason for this is simply because all of our favorite artists are getting older. This means that they are more mature individuals, which we are seeing in their work. This song by Big Sean sort of reminds me of Mirror by Kendrick Lamar, just not quite at that level. Big Sean is saying in Boundaries that he needs to put himself first at times, and that is okay. This is a similar message that Kendrick talks about in Mirror. And whilst Better Me Than You features the most layered music from Big Sean, it also features lighter songs. I don't care what you say, the song Precision is a fucking banger. That song went straight into my gym playlist when it released. So if you don't want layered and complex music, you can still get that from Better Me Than You. Ultimately, Better Me Than You features the deepest and most complex version of Big Sean, which creates his most complex and layered project yet. But the ultimate question that we're here to answer is, why didn't the album perform as well as it should have? Well, there isn't one singular answer to this. Instead, I believe multiple factors caused this. The first factor is simply because Big Sean waited too long. It was nearly 4 years between Better Me Than You and Detroit 2. And in that time, the way albums are marketed changed significantly. Nowadays, people are using methods such as using streamers to promote their albums, a method which was largely unheard of in 2020. I don't think that Big Sean was able to keep up with the development of music marketing. And because of that, this album went largely under the radar. I didn't even know it came out until 6 months after it released. There was no hype for it, it just kind of happened. And nowadays that can really harm an album. You need to put as much effort into the marketing of an album as you do for the album itself. Nowadays you need trailers, single releases, billboards, everything. If not, people are not going to know about your album, and it's ultimately not going to sell well. The second reason I believe that this album flopped is because of external influences from two of the biggest rappers in the world, that being Kendrick and Kanye West. In 2019, a leaked lyric for Kendrick Lamar's song Element showed him openly dissing Big Sean. Now, while these two have frequently sneak dissed each other in the past, this was a very open and direct diss from Kendrick. And as we saw with the Kendrick and Drake beef, Kendrick has millions of die-hard fans. And if Kendrick doesn't like a certain artist, neither will these die-hard fans. So if any of these were Big Sean fans, they probably would have had a negative opinion of him after seeing the leaked diss. This could have therefore led to them stopping listening to his projects altogether, impacting the streams of Better Me Than You. As for Kanye, him and Big Sean's relationship has been less than ideal. Detroit 2 was Big Sean's last album under Kanye's label. After that, Kanye said that signing Big Sean was his biggest regret. Big Sean also announced that he wasn't getting his financial fair share whilst under his label. This beef probably meant that diehard Kanye fans probably also jumped ship away from Big Sean. And this was probably quite a large amount, as Big Sean really cultivated most of his audience whilst under Kanye's label. So after losing many Kendrick and Kanye fans that were also fans of him, it's quite obvious that his recent album would do considerably worse. I think another aspect that may have impacted the performance of Better Me Than You is the nature of the album. When artists put out more complex projects, they tend to perform worse due to them not having as much replay value. There aren't many radio hits on Better Me Than You. There's not many songs that you're going to go back to consistently other than maybe Precision. Therefore, a lot of people may have just listened to the album once and then moved on. It's an unfortunate reality that I don't really like, because bland songs normally get a lot of streams, whilst actual good quality complex songs tend to fall to the bottom. And unfortunately, this will never change. Radios will always play the lightest and most replayable songs. So what can we take away from the performance of Better Me Than You? Well, it's simply the fact that it's equally important what happens away from music nowadays. With the internet and social media, we now know every aspect of an artist's personal life. And this can ultimately sway our opinions of them and their music. And don't get me wrong, this can sometimes be positive, as it can stop us supporting genuinely bad people. However, it can also cause genuinely good projects to underperform due to external factors. And that's what we saw with Better Me Than You. And I think that that's a genuine shame because, as I've said, I believe this is Big Sean's best work. These low numbers that Better Me Than You got may ultimately deter him from making music like this in the future. And that will be a damn shame because I like this version of Big Sean. I want to see him tackle tough topics. You probably haven't listened to Better Me Than You, and if you haven't, please do go and give it a listen. It's a genuinely great and complex album, and for me deserves multiple re-listens.